Welcome to 2011's version of Mark's Halloween. Latest addition this year is that guy right there. He is an axworthy ghost. An axworthy ghost is a ghost named after the guy who invented them. Basically, it's a ghost that flies along the line powered by a motor. In my quest to build one, I searched out on the internet and found on YouTube all kinds of wonderful videos and suggestions, but even still, with all that great guidance that everybody gave, it wasn't enough, and I had to do a lot of trial and error. And so it is my intent through this video to give you a highlight of what I did, what worked, what didn't, and hopefully you can build one of your own. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Now, the heart and soul of any axworthy system, there he goes, is in fact the drivetrain, the motor, mechanism, the pulley, and everything that goes with it. Now, I was fortunate that in the design of my system, my brother gave me a motor. This is a GE motor, quarter horsepower, 1725 RPMs, with tons of torque, which to me was really important because my first motor attempt was actually a sewing machine motor that couldn't pull the line nearly as much as I wanted it to because I actually had more than one ghost on it. But it can do the job. It's powered by a pulley up top I picked up at my Ace hardware store, and on it went. The belt that you see is actually the main pulley belt off of the motor of a vehicle, of a car. I forget the serpentine belt, I think is what it's called. I purchased it at a hardware store, and I cut it down to 2 bands in width so it could fit around the pulley without any problem. And the hardest part was actually getting the distance right between my wheels. My wheels are nothing more than a couple of bicycle wheels. The top one is a 15-inch. The bottom one's I think like a 7 or 8-inch one. All my bicycle wheels, of which I purchased 10 of them, came from a local bike store that was actually selling these things. And it was actually kind of cool. Because they only sold them for $1 each. It's a 1/2-inch rod that's threaded all the way through, with a couple of bolts in between. The center piece, that the 2x material you see, is a block of 2x material with a 3-inch brass nipple, actually, with it for gas that the rod runs through, and I greased that thing up so it actually forms a real nice axle. And this thing actually drives the whole system. Works quite well and does a very nice job. So that's the drivetrain. The line that you see here is actually a line that's construction line for a builder that you see on construction sites. Tightens up very nice, it holds the weight quite well, and it stretches actually pretty good to get around my wheels without too much of a problem. Okay, the height of my wheels, I'm about 11, maybe 12 feet off the ground. And so the bracing that I had to use was old strut material. Again, my brother, who's an electrician, gave that to me. He pulled it off some old job sites. It works quite well without damaging the tree. I actually mount some of them on the trees with the strapping, with the ratchets, so I don't do any damage, and it's real easy to get on and off. Because my motor is not weather protected, I actually jerry-rigged an old bucket, drilled a couple holes in the bottom of it to drain. And when not in use, I actually mount the bucket over the motor to keep it protected. It is my hope that next year I can devise a better strategy for weather protection so I don't have to climb up and down the ladder each and every time. But for now, that's what I have to do. That's probably the biggest improvement I want to make for next year. All right, let me go to the other pulleys. Now, as I said, that's the main pulley, pulling the line. My axworthy system is a series of 5 wheels. Again, all bicycle wheels that do the job. Now, the one you see up here is really important. Even though it didn't really affect the direction of the ghost, it only offset like 3 or 4 feet. The way I positioned it on my trees allows it to act as the tensioner. So what I did, I strung the line among all the other wheels except for this one, made it nice and tight, and then I stretched the line over it to get it really taut so it suspends quite well. And again, It also helps with support of the line. The distance from my motor and the downstream wheel is almost 60 feet. So, well, the other thing I wanted to show you real quick was on the Ghost itself. This Ghost, incredibly lightweight. I paid, I think, all of $3 for it, but it's basically a styrofoam with a couple of pieces of cloth. Less than half a pound easily, very light. And a light Ghost is really important when putting it on your line, because obviously the line will be dragging. In terms of connection, I actually use fishing lure connectors tied up. I have 3 of these on my line right now. As you can see, these 3 will eventually host all 3 Ghosts. Right now I only have the one on, but the thing that I like about mine is they slide. Now I know some people don't like that. Some people say, no, you want it fixed on the line. But if you make the knot too tight and they get snagged, the whole line comes down. But if you get them running any kind of a snag, it gives a little bit of leeway, and the weight of the Ghost itself is enough of a friction to keep it somewhat situated on the line. So if it moves a couple inches every time around, it's no big deal. All 3 will move, and to the observer, it's not that big of a deal. So I actually like that. But the lures is a real important thing because it allows it to rotate and kind of go with the wind as needed. Okay, let me go to my pulleys now. So the first pulley that we run into is the second one off of the motor. There's the main motor down there, and this one is over here. And this one's really important for a very specific reason. I think I mentioned it a bit earlier, but it acts as the tension line. Even though it only diverts the line maybe 3 or 4 feet off its main trajectory, it serves 2 purposes. The first is it adds additional support between the long run, between this and my long one and the distance one. And the second thing is I tighten the line up first, and I stretch it under this pulley to make the line extra tight. The line then proceeds further down to the shed area. You see a Ghost up there, and up top, if I go a little bit closer, will allow you to see this pulley mechanism. Now this is an important one as well. They're all important, but you know, this is the longest distance run, and unlike the others, because of the elevation of the ground, it is almost 20 feet off the ground. And so fortunately for me, I have the shed. I got onto the shed where I can lean a ladder and then actually get up there and do administration. You will also see that unlike the other pulleys, this pulley is actually locked in place with a strut and a piece of tie rod, not tie rod, but a threaded rod that I put in place. I felt this one was really important to have that one in that regard because of the extra tension that it gets, and I really didn't want to do any kind of maintenance on it. Now, as I proceed along the patio area that we get here, hello black cat, the line that we just were at by the shed actually goes to the main tree line over by the backyard. So over here I actually have a dual pulley mechanism. Now the one thing that I would want to improve for next year on this one is that the length of the strut is a bit too short. Not that it doesn't work, but as you can see, the tree is actually wrapped with a plastic bag on it right now. That's because I had problems with the Ghost catching on the tree. The fabric, as it came around, would often grab it and would hold up the line. So maybe if I were to make the pulley system wider by adding the strut, making it probably another 1.5 feet at least on each side, I would avoid the problem of the Ghost catching on the tree. But for now, at least for this year, it's the plastic bag that will do the trick. So that's the essence of my my Ghost axworthy system here. What else can I tell you? Construction line was really important. Strong, flexible enough to be knotted up, and I can adjust it as I need to. Does a nice job. The color, the green, actually looks pretty cool at night. The height of the pulleys also important to keep them somewhat level. Obviously, if the Ghosts are traveling along, you don't want them to be slipping or snagging. Having the right height of the Ghosts. A lot of trial and error. Getting it right the first time is almost impossible. But everybody who's walked by the neighborhood, all my neighbors who walk their dogs and friends of my kids, they come by and say, well, that's really cool. And on Halloween night, it should be a lot of fun. We're going to have trick-or-treaters backyard here. We're going to have a fire. We're going to show some movies with Halloween videos and spin the roulette for candy. And the axworthy most certainly contributes to the aura and the excitement of Halloween like it ought to be. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Any questions, let me know. Any posts or issues, you want more detail, just drop me a line. And I will talk to you again next Halloween. Okay? Thanks again for watching. Happy Halloween, folks.